Hi, today we're going to be talking about a new way to graph your data. You're used to using different graphs, including bar graphs, pictographs, circle graphs, and when we're representing changes over time, line graphs. So today I have your survey results from a class meeting a week ago, I think, when I asked everyone in a normal spring, so not now, during a normal springtime, how many after-school activities do you participate in? And these are the results that I received through chat. Now, we're going to be using something called a line plot. Line plots are an easy representation, as you saw in that other video, of a way to display our data. So the first thing we're going to do is start out with a line, number line along the bottom, thus its name. Now, this number line must include all the values in our data set. So thankfully, we don't have a huge variation or range that we must include on here. If you look at the lowest number that we have several students who don't participate in any after-school activities, so 0. And then the highest number that we have that we must represent is a 4. So down here on our number line, we're going to have 0 through 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like a regular graph that you're used to, you have to number and label. So 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all number of after-school activities. So I'm going to write that underneath my graph. And all graphs have keys. So most of the time when you're using a line plot, you're going to use an X. Sometimes you may use a dot. For our purposes, we're going to use an X. So at the top, I'm going to write key. 1X equals 1 activity. Should say 1 student response. Okay. So now when I'm transferring the data, I'm going to put 1X per response, and you always want to make sure that you are able to check off that list. So again, copy the list down on your notebook paper and then check it off as you use it. So for 1, I have another 1. So remember, this means that I have 2 people now who participate in 1 after-school activity each. I have a 2, one person who says 2 activities, another who does not participate in after-school activities, a 1, my 4, another 2, 3, 2 1s, a 2, a 3, a 0, another 0, and 2 additional responses of 2. So now what I'm going to do is to verify that my data is correct. You always have to display accurate data. I'm going to count the number of data points that I have here from the survey and make sure my X's are the same number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 people responded to that particular survey. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Of course, if I would have gotten something less here or something more, then I need to go back to my data and make sure it's represented accurately. So why is this in our probability and statistics unit? Now we can look at our line plot and we can determine things like the mean, median, mode, and range. Now, when you're making your own, you need to be really careful that you line up your x's horizontally to each other. I didn't do such a great job here because I was leaning on a whiteboard and it's not mounted like I'm used to or flat on a surface. But when I look at this, you can tell right away what the range would be. The range, remember, is the difference between the highest number and the lowest number. And we touched on that just a moment ago. But when I look at this, I did have someone respond with a 4 and people responded with a 0. So the range is going to be that highest response, 4 minus 0 equals 4. So our range is equal to 4. That's the difference between your high and your low. It's the variation of spread. So now let's talk about those measures of center, the middle numbers. So when I start out, we always write mean, median, and mode. I don't know why. That's just the way it's always presented, like in test questions usually. Doesn't matter which one you do. As I shared with you, I like doing the mode first because that's really easy. Mode is the value that appears the most. So when I take a look at this, and this is what I mean when I said be careful. It's better when it's on a computer because they're lined up really well. It looks like this one right here, 1 after-school activity and 2 after-school activities might be tied. But as you can tell, they're a little off from each other. So I'm going to verify that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for that. So my initial eyeball of it was correct. It's the same responses. Those are the ones that appear the most. So the mode for this set of data is going to be 1 and 2. It's both of those numbers because they occur equally. Now, if I want to look at the mean and the median, well, I got rid of that list. So now I've got to backtrack. Now I need to make my list. Now, the good thing about it is looking at my line plot, it's in order now. So I'm going to go with my list on the top so you can see. I'm going to start with the lowest number because I always want to put them in order from least to greatest. So I have 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's this first vertical row that you see. Column, I should say. So now all the ones. I need to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. For 2, I already know that that is the same number, so I'm going to write 2 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. The number 3, for 3 activities after school, I'm writing it twice. And then 1 4. So now I've got my list. Once you have your line plot set up, it's super easy to generate that big long list of numbers that we have to work with. Because yes, we have to work with them. But now I've got my median. Remember, whatever you cross off here for your least value, it has to have a partner on the other side. So here's 1 over there as well. And then I just keep on going. 1 for you, 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 1 for you. A low and a high, a low and a high, a low and a high, a low and a high. Yay! So happy. I'm so glad I didn't have to add those two numbers together and divide by 2. It worked out perfectly. Okay, good. So my median number is 1. Now the mean. I gotta get my calculator. Now I'm ready. Mean, we gotta add them all up, divide by the total number in that survey set. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That makes sense because it was odd right in the middle there. It worked out well. Now I'm going to add them up. Zeros I'm not going to worry about. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. So I'm going to add 5 plus 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 plus 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 4. I have 25. I'm going to do it one more time just to make sure. So all these zeros, I'm not worried about them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for my ones, plus 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I'm adding 10 to my number. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 4, and I again have 25. So for my mean, it's 25 divided by 17. Why 17? Because remember there's 17 numbers here altogether. If you count up all these, there are 17 x's. So 25 divided by 17, I already have an idea it's going to be just 1 and some leftovers. And that's what I got. 1 and a big old remainder, or should we say a really small remainder. We're going to round that. It was 1.470 going on and on and on. So let's just round it to the nearest tenth. So 4/10 is going to round up because of that 7. So 1.5 is our mean. And if you take a look at that, it really does make sense because the majority of students who responded had 1 or 2 after school activities. So that places our middle numbers. It says for mode 1 and 2. Our median was 1. When we did this, it's all 1. That makes sense. And 1.5 for our mean. So it would be right here. Line plots.